It's finally here after years of complete radio silence, followed by a tidal wave of gameplay reviews and developer diaries, and a guy telling me that he threw an empty gun into an NPC to match out the gameplay. iOS Interactive 007 First Light has landed. We spent the last week diving into every trailer, preview, and developer breakdown we could find, and I mean all of them. Analyzing every nook and cranny of its gorgeous world, from sun-soaked beaches to treacherous mountain peaks. What's good, y'all? Alonso here with Level Up Gaming, and if you're new here, welcome to Level Up Gaming, where we make sure you never miss what's happening in gaming. And yeah, the Spycraft right now looks phenomenal. And if you've ever gracefully danced through a crowd of thugs in a Batman Arkham game, then you're going to feel right at home. In this video, we're going to break down piece by piece how IO Interactive has taken the phenomenal free-flow combat of the Arkham series, refined it, and adapted it to create, and I'm not using hyperbole here, the most satisfying and definitive James Bond experience there is to experience. The history of James Bond in video games is inconsistent, especially when it comes to throwing a punch. Pun intended. Let's be honest, we all have a deep nostalgic love for GoldenEye 007 on the N64. I know I did. I grew up with my homies, going to their friends. I couldn't wait to get out of school. I would go to their house, put on the 4 split screen, play, and no, you cannot choose odd job because that is cheating. Remember, we even had the Game Shark pack that you would put like cheat codes and like paintballs, big hits. Those were the days. Gosh, I'm old. It revolutionized the first-person shooter on consoles, but its melee combat, a single stiff karate chop. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I know 007, and he's a little bit more than just right. Good for a laugh, maybe, but hardly the sophisticated CQC of a trained MI6 agent. CQC stands for Close Quarter Combat, by the way, for you out there at home. I got you. For decades, the problem was that Bond's physical skill was something you watched, not something you felt. Developers just couldn't seem to crack the code. How? Oh, how do you make a character like James Bond feel like the player is playing that character? Not just a guy with a gun, but a brutal, efficient, and smart hand-to-hand combatant. That was a challenge. And for years, it seemed like no one could figure it out. Until now. Enter IO Interactive. Fresh off the massive success of their Hitman World of Assassination trilogy, they were handed the keys to the Bond universe. And it seems like the first thing they did was look at what Rocksteady Studios did with the Arkham Batman series and say, hey, let's start there. And that's not a criticism. It's the highest praise you can give, really. Batman Arkham was revolutionary, still is. IO Interactive knew that to make Bond feel like Bond, they couldn't just copy the slow, deliberate puzzle box style of Agent 47. Agent 47's combat was meant to be clunky. It was a punishment for getting caught. For James Bond, a man who can walk into a casino and either talk his way out of a problem or end with his fists, combat needs to be a real and even attractive option. Okay? This is where their forward momentum philosophy, a term from gameplay director Andreas Krog, comes in. Everything in 007 First Light is designed to push you forward, to reward action and improvisation instead of punishing or just waiting around. You see it in the stealth, where you're encouraged to take risks and use your charm to bluff your way out of trouble. That's bad. But you feel it, mostly in the combat. Okay? It's a system that doesn't just allow for aggression. It rewards it with a ballet of beautiful, brutal efficiency that comes directly from the Arkham School of Design. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. It's one thing to say it feels like Arkham, but when you look at the details, you see just how deep the inspiration runs. We're going to break this down right now. Okay, we're going to break this down into the core pillars that make the system a true evolution, not just a copy. At its heart, Batman Arkham's combat was a rhythm game dressed up as a brawler, right? It was built on 3 core actions: strike, counter, and evade. The simple setup let players take on dozens of enemies at once, creating a flow state where you move from one target to the next and seamlessly chain of attacks. It was all about controlling the crowd and ever stopping. 007 First Light takes that exact foundation and builds a house of Fleming-esque paint right on top of it. The core loop is identical. You hit the strike button to start a combo. Easy peasy. When another guy closes in, you hit the parry button to deflect his attack and chain it into a takedown. Easy peasy. If a brute charges, you double tap the dodge button, alright, to flip out of the way. It is the same dance, the rush mechanic, which lets you instantly close the distance to an enemy. Make sure the combo never drops, just like the Batman's glide kick. The feel is what sells it. Where Batman's moves are heavy and built to incapacitate with raw power, Bond's are sharp, precise, and cruelly efficient. He doesn't have the same strength, so he uses an opponent's momentum against him. A parry isn't just a block, it's a redirection. An elbow to the throat, a quick arm twist that flows right into a throw, sending one enemy beautifully crashing into another. The game rewards you for keeping this flow going, for stringing together strikes, parries, throws, and environmental takedowns in one unbroken, beautiful sequence. When you're in the zone, it's intoxicating. It's pure Arkham, but with pure flair. One of the most memorable parts of the Arkham games was a counter icon. Blue lightning bolts above an enemy's head were a perfect piece of game design, giving you a clear signal of, hey, press the counter button now. It was the key that unlocked the whole system for millions of players. IO Interactive did something brilliant here. They evolved it. In 007 First Light, the big flashing icon is gone. Instead, you have to rely on in-world cues. You have to watch your enemies. At first, it feels tough. It was tough. Quickly becomes second nature and is way more immersive afterwards. An enemy's about to swing will have their shoulder muscle tense up for a split second. How sick is that? A goon reaching for a knife will have a tiny flint of light flash off the blade just before they attack. This forces you to be a spy. You have to read the room and the body language of your opponents. It elevates the whole thing from a simple reaction test to a real exercise in observation and situational awareness. It's more of a demanding system for sure, but mastering makes you feel like you truly have heightened senses, and you, my friend, are a 00 agent. Congratulations. You're not just reacting to a UI, you're reacting to your opponent. It's a masterful evolution of Rocksteady's original concept. The Arkham games were great at making the environment a weapon. You could slam thugs into walls or use special takedowns near certain objects. 007 First Light takes that idea and gives it a lethal dose of Bond flair. This idea is everywhere. I mean, previews have shown Bond shooting fire extinguishers to create cover or hitting an explosive barrier to clear out a group. I saw on a creator's YouTube video that he actually used an empty gun to throw it into an enemy's face, grab the enemy, like incapacitated, and then rush towards the enemy that he threw the empty gun to. Grabbed his gun, by the way, from the foot. Okay, he literally kicked the gun up, grabbed it, and started shooting. But it's a smaller thing. It's the smaller things that really sell the fantasy. Using your Q-Labs watch laser to melt a doorknob and trap guards, luring an enemy into a puddle, and then shooting a nearby electrical box, and then just... Every fight arena is packed with these opportunities, pushing a level of violent creativity that makes every encounter feel unique and unscripted. It turns you into an action choreographer. A good one, too. This comparison is maybe the most direct one, but Batman's fighting was amplified by how seamlessly he used his gadgets. A quick batarang to stun a charging enemy, explosive gel to knock down a group, they were extensions of his fists. It's the exact same function as a batarang stun, it's just cooler. The Wedge Smoke device isn't just for escapes, you can pop it into a brawl to disorient the whole group, letting you either slip away or, more satisfyingly, take them down one by one while they're coughing. The poison dart function is another stroke of genius. You can use it stealthily on a guard, but in a fight, you can fire it at a huge brute-type enemy. He won't go down, but he'll get sick. Every Arkham player knows that feeling when a fight is going sideways. You're overwhelmed, your combo is broken, and you need a get-out-of-jail-free card, right? That's what Batman's special combo takedowns were for. First Light has its own version, let me say, and it's tied to gunplay and that forward momentum idea. Let's not forget the other half of Arkham's gameplay, the Predator encounters. These were stealth puzzles where you silently picked off enemies one by one. The beauty was the fluid transition. You could be on a gargoyle one moment, drop down for a takedown, and if spotted, the room would erupt into a free-for-all brawl, right? Which you could hide away from again, by the way. First Light gets that same dynamic flow through its alert states, an idea brought over from Hitman, but retooled for Spy. You might start in a neutral state, blending in at a party, get spotted in a restricted area, and you enter confrontational. Here, you might get a bluff, let's say, opportunity, a dialogue, if you will, choice to talk your way out of it. If that fails, the state shifts to license to kill. The music swells, the gloves come off, and the game mechanically justifies the switch from spy to soldier. This creates the same cat and mouse tension as an Arkham Predator room, but with a Bond twist. You might try to clear a room stealthily, but if one person spots you, oh well, the whole dynamic then changes, okay? Because you become the most lethal Daniel Craig James Bond has ever seen. It can dynamically shift, really, into an all-out melee. Okay? The systems are so intertwined that failure in one gameplay style just means you transition into another. It's never a hard game over, it's just a change of circumstances. Now, it would be unfair to call 007 First Light a simple clone. While the DNA is clearly Arkham, IO has layered on unique systems that are pure James Bond. The bluff mechanic is the most obvious. I mean, Batman doesn't talk his way out of trouble, he is the trouble. Bond, on the other hand, is a master of charisma, crashing through a door and coming face to face with a guard only to have dialogue option to pretend you're a lost tourist. It's a brilliant character-defining mechanic, one that we're gonna use a lot. Then there's the gunplay itself. Ranged combat in the Arkham series was very limited by design, right? Batman doesn't use guns. For Bond, his Walther PPK is as iconic as his Aston Martin. First Light doesn't shy away from this, marrying the free-flow melee with genuinely satisfying third-person shooting. When the license to kill state is active, you can access a time-slowing pinpoint shooting mode, letting you pull off cinematic headshots under pressure. A little bit like Red Dead 2, right? Or Red Dead 1 for that matter. The ability to go from a 5-hit melee combo into drawing your pistol and dropping 3 enemies in slow motion feels totally unique to this game. And of course, vehicle combat. While the Batmobile was a huge part of Arkham Knight and Arkham Knight only, the on-foot sections of First Light transition seamlessly into high-speed car chases with their own robust combat mechanics, something IO has said was a new and exciting challenge for them. If there was one final piece of evidence needed, it's the boss design. Okay, the Arkham series is famous for its creative boss battles, especially the incredible Mr. Freeze fight in Arkham City. Okay, you do one thing, he gets used to it, you cannot do that again. It was a fight that tested every skill you had, forcing you to use stealth, gadgets, and the environment to take down an enemy you couldn't face directly head on. Amazing. Without spoiling anything major, there is a boss encounter in 00 First Light that is a clear, loving homage to that Mr. Freeze fight. Okay, it takes place in a massive multi-level warehouse. Your target is heavily armed and armored, and you can't damage him with normal attacks. The only way to win is to stalk him from the shadows, using your entire arsenal of tricks. You use your watch laser to overload a generator, perhaps, creating, diversion. You use a smoke device to cross an open floor. You trigger environmental hazards to create an opening for a single quick strike before rappelling away and disappearing. It is beat for beat a Mr. Freeze style encounter, and it's the ultimate final exam of everything the game has taught you up until that point. What do you all think from what you've seen and what you've heard? Are you impressed? Let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited for this new, more brutal and fluid direction for Bond? In the end, 007 First Light succeeds not just because it's a great James Bond game, but because it's a phenomenal action game, period. It stands on the shoulders of giants, taking the revolutionary free-flow combat that Rocksteady perfected and intelligently evolved it for a new hero. The results turn into a fluid, improvisational, and deeply, deeply, deeply satisfying system that finally, after decades of trying, makes you feel like James Bond himself. Apologies. It copied Arkham's. It carries this torch forward, creating what is unquestionably the best Bond game ever made and a serious contender for the best melee combat system of this generation. All right, I'll leave you with this. Okay, click this next video right here and keep up leveling up because the bar set this high. Can any other action game top it? Let me know. Only time will tell. If you enjoy talking gaming industry news and what's next, hit subscribe for more content like this. Hit that like button with maximum damage, by the way. And remember to hit on that notification bell so you don't miss any video. You will not want to miss it, I promise.